Hey Lashpreneurs, happy Monday to you. This episode is coming from my walk. Well, technically it was a run. It is incredibly hot and humid here in Tennessee, and I don't identify as a runner. However, I'm in a competition with a friend to see who can run the most amount of miles in June, which was not my idea, but I'm competitive. I couldn't let it go. And what's coming up for me on my walk, sometimes I just listen to music. Sometimes I listen to audiobooks. Sometimes I listen to TikTok, which is hard to swipe and listen and run and do all the things. But what's coming up for me this morning is a couple of questions of things we've had members say inside the society. And I thought, if I'm seeing this level of frequency with our members, chances are y'all are thinking this too, at least a good percentage of you. And I wanted to offer a different perspective, and that is about a recession. Now, here in the US, our gas prices are dumb, like really, really dumb, just overpriced, right? We've never seen gas prices this high. They continue to go up. And there is a lot of talk on the squawk boxes of radio, media, news, all the places where great, amazing, powerful, empowering information comes from. Sarcasm meant to be heard there, about a looming recession. And our stock market is dipping, and all the factors of recession. Now, if the last few years hasn't taught you anything, let me offer this perspective for you. Be careful what you feed your brain. Okay? There's something called the reticular activating system in your head. That basically is the filter in which information goes from your subconscious to your conscious mind. Now, despite your upbringing, your belief system, evidence, information that you've had your entire life, you actually can influence and impact the information that goes from your subconscious to your conscious. Now, what information is your subconscious? Every single thing ever that you have ever experienced, whether you remember it or not, every piece of information. This is why when you were sleeping, your subconscious brain is still awake. It is still receiving information. That's why, like, when moms hear kids cry, it wakes them out of a dead sleep, right? Because their subconscious brain is constantly aware of what's going on. And your conscious brain can't handle that amount of information. It's very overwhelming. It's very overwhelming just for the conscious information or things that we're present to. So your subconscious brain is going to let specific information into your conscious brain that it thinks is relevant to your survival. It's really the main goal. So based on that, if you are constantly feeding yourself and you are constantly feeding your subconscious mind negativity, bad self-talk, you're around people who have negative self-talk, so you're seeing the way that they talk about themselves. You are watching the news, you're checking news stations, you are seeing shootings and mass crises and wars and recessions and plunging stock markets and all the things. That is what is going to continue to be leaked from your subconscious into your conscious brain. Now, it can be a very negative thing, obviously, if you're feeding your mind negative things, or it could be a very powerful thing that helps you access and unlock a new level of feeling in control of your life. Because here's the thing, when we allow this media, or even the influences in our life, friends, family, the people that we surround ourselves with, influence in a way that is not motivating, that creates a lot of fear, we stay stuck. Why? Because we're afraid of what's ahead. We're afraid of an outcome. And therefore, we don't want to venture out of our comfort zone in case what we experience on the other side of venturing outside of our comfort zone is unpleasant or painful or hurtful. So our brain would choose to stay stuck and in a loop and fear-based rather than risk it getting worse if we take an action. So specifically speaking to the recession, we've had quite a few posts inside of our society of like, what do we do if there's a recession? That alone is a fear-based statement, because what do we do if XYZ happens? Because it actually hasn't happened to my knowledge. And even if it did, you would be in it. So it wouldn't be a possibility, it would be a reality. So now this is the overthinker's problem, right? Where it's like, I need to plan for all eventualities. I need to have a game plan to save my business if there's a recession. Well, in that statement alone, there's a belief that your business is not recession proof, or that your business or you will suffer should that happen. Now, here is the perspective shift. Let's just go down that belief. Let's paint the worst case scenario, right? And that worst case scenario is going to be different for each and every one of you. But let's just say the consequences of a recession in your head would be that clients can't afford your services, right? Interesting thought, because if you are building a clientele that has to choose filling up their gas tank and getting your services, it doesn't matter if there's a recession, a job loss, a car accident, they have to, they run over a nail in the street and they have to pay for a whole new set of tires. They are so price sensitive that any sort of financial hiccup is going to derail them from being able to afford your services. So first of all, that's a target market issue that you are starting to build, or you have built a very price sensitive clientele that will not grow with you. One $5 price increase and you've lost that clientele that you've built. And a $5 price increase for those that are not price sensitive, they don't even recognize the $5 that went out in addition. They may not even know that your price changed because it's not that big of a deal. Somebody who is not price sensitive, somebody who sees lashes as an investment and they love them, they love the quality and they love the experience, and paying 50, 60, even $100 every 2 weeks, it's not that big of a deal for them. When you've built that clientele, recession or not, there's worst case scenarios where people's entire businesses shut down and they lose their job and they have no income and they have to sell their house and all these things. Sure, that's worst case scenario, but it's not very common in a recession that those that aren't price sensitive, those that have the ability to afford investing in their appearance, it's a very rare occasion that they would completely lose their income altogether. So if you're worried about your income, if you're worried about your business, I want you to check in with the clientele that you've built, because that you do have control over, believe it or not. Because if you've built a clientele that's very price sensitive, guess what? If you get fully booked and you have no more room in your schedule and you're in order to cut down on clients, I need to do a price increase, a significant one of 15 to 20% across the board, you're going to lose a big chunk of your clientele, which is why most people are afraid to raise their prices, because they're afraid to lose clients, when in fact that is actually creating more room in your business for less price sensitive clients. Interesting how that works. So if you're at all concerned about the recession, a recession, I'm not going to say the recession, any recession, I want you to look at who are the types of clients that you are drawing into your business, and did you maybe draw them in based on price alone, that you were going to be the cheaper artist compared to somebody else? Were you competing on price? Because that's likely why somebody chose you, is because you were cheap. So yeah, if you get people who are looking at and valuing cheap and there's recession, well, guess what's the first thing to go? The thing that is not keeping their lifestyle cheap, right? You. So this is something that I would be present to and actually start to fix now before a recession, and start to find and target and market and get in front of the people who are less price sensitive. You know what? The first thing you could do as one option is raise your prices to get a clientele that can afford higher prices. You go from $100 full sets to $150, even $200 full sets, you're going to get a different clientele that can afford that level of price point. Therefore, your fills that are even $75, $80, there are plenty of people out there who can afford that, who don't blink an eye, that would prefer quality results and quality experience over cheap. That then starts to build more stability in your business, whether there's a recession or not. Now, it's interesting that the particular student of mine that asked this question, she was worried about doing a price increase because of the recession, because she's so fully booked. She's like, I don't have any more room for this, but I'm concerned that, there's going to be a recession. I'm going to do this price increase, and then what happens? Right? Fear-based thinking. When the reality is that she has enough demand to dictate her pricing, not the recession, not her client's budget. She has the demand. She knows how to market herself well enough that she can get new clients in, even if she were to drop 30% of her clients from a price increase, right? And you can always discount, but it's so much higher to increase your prices and try and take a cheap clientele along with you as you increase your prices than it is to start off high and offer limited time discounts, right? So what I want you to ask yourself anytime these fears come up, you'll know it's a fear when it feels restrictive in your chest, when it feels tight, when it feels like scary, right? That's a good way to know whether what you're thinking is fear-based or not. And ask yourself, is this helping me reach my goals better, faster, or easier? If the answer is yes, because fear can be very motivating, go for it, right? Live in your fear. But chances are it's probably no, this is keeping me stuck and it's taking me longer to get to my goals if I have this way of thinking. So once you have that awareness, then you get to choose what information you want to believe, right? Because again, we get to choose what our reticular activating system, our filter is. So it's not that we can stop obtrusive thoughts coming into our head. That's not what this is. You're human. Bad thoughts are going to come into your head, just part of living. But you can choose not to have them stay there. You can choose not to give them any meaning or weight and just identify, that's a bad thought and I don't like that thought. I'm going to think about something else and choose what you do want to think. So if you have, maybe you completely stay off the news. Hi, that's me. I never ever watch the news. In fact, I don't even like sometimes going on social media when there's a lot of cultural events or I don't mean cultural, but societal events going on, crises, tragedies, that kind of thing, because it fills my brain with negativity and fear. The reason why I don't watch the freaking news, well, let me give you another perspective shift. News and media, they are for-profit businesses and they have to satisfy advertisers by ratings in order to stay afloat, to make all the buku bucks that they make, to keep their board of directors well funded. So they use what's called clickbait. You guys are probably familiar with that term. So you've noticed this on your local news station. Kid eats dangerous candy. Find out what it is at 10, News 5. Right? Or News 5 at 10, right? It's very if I don't watch this, I'm not going to know what candy is dangerous for my kid. And then they have some doctor talking about sugar levels in children are high. It's not that it's one specific piece of candy that was dangerous. It's all candy is dangerous. You should feed your kid a healthy diet. Here's the food pyramid. But in order to get viewers, they put this very fear-based statement out there that if you don't watch at whatever time the news is on, you're going to miss out and you're not going to know this thing that's going to be dangerous. Right? Because they need ratings. So they need stuff. And fear is a great attention getter. It has your attention, right? So media is very much based on money. And the more viewers they have, the more money they get. So guess what kind of stuff gets the most views? Fear-based stuff. Look at the news. How much of it is happy, positive, hugs and feel goods, especially the nightly news, especially your political stations. They are meant to be polarizing. They are meant to be jerks. They are meant to be, create conversation so that more people watch and talk crap to the TV. So just consider the news source of where you're getting your information, especially social media. Come on, we can all have an opinion on something that may not be based in fact or truth. In fact, how do we know it's fact or truth? What we're getting is all filtered through somebody else's lens of trying to get us to create an action, which is watch their shows. So my rant aside about media is that I choose not to participate in that because it doesn't serve me. I did find out many, many years ago of a friend who was killed in a car accident on the news. I was the first one of his family and his friends to find out. In fact, then I told all of our close friends, because he was a very close friend of ours, that he was killed in a car accident. I just saw it on in the news because they couldn't identify him to contact his family, and so they put it on the news. And I was the one that saw it. So that alone was the reason why I don't watch news, because I don't need to find out about a close friend dying from that source. I need to find out from family and friends or police or whatever. So my own experience is what taught me to stay off the news. But just for even the people that I surround myself with that watch a lot of news and the conversations they have, they're all negative. They're all powerless in those conversations, especially when it comes to things that they're completely out of control of. You cannot control a recession. You have zero impact on recession. Yes, you can vote, but at least here in the US, half the people kind of voted for one guy and half voted for the other guy. So half the people are out of having any sort of impact on what we're experiencing now, which is a looming recession. So I choose to spend my time looking at the things and learning about the things that I am in control of, which for me is my brain, which for me is my internal state. It is not something external to me. So Doesn't do me any good to think or fear or worry about what China's doing, what Korea's doing, what Russia's doing, what the rest of the world is doing, because until it has an impact on me, there's no point in worrying about it. It's just filling up energy and time and fear in my head, when my kids, my day-to-day life has much more of an impact on me and my future than what other countries are doing, what the government's doing, what, recession, the stock market, all of that. What I can control is that I continue to live in my purpose, that I continue to check in with myself as to what is going to get me to the goals that I feel are put inside me for the greater good of humanity to get there easier, better, faster, quicker. So I want you to be mindful of what you're feeding your brain. And also, anytime you get fears in your head, totally normal human experience, I want you to challenge those. Is this a fear or a thought or a belief that I want to continue to choose to believe? If the answer is no, then choose a different thought. Choose a different belief that does serve you. Because who's to say whether it's right or wrong? We're all just making it up. Everybody in life is just making it up. So why can't you too? If you want to believe that a recession is probably going to be the best thing that's ever happened in your business, that sounds like a pretty empowering belief. And now we just get to go out and find evidence of that. Because that's the thing too, that your filter, your reticular activating system, will only feed your brain evidence of what matches your beliefs. And so if you're getting a lot of evidence of fear-based things, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, the recession is going to tank my business, your brain will be in tune with evidence that matches your belief. So if that's a fearful thing, then change your beliefs and start to look for evidence of the new belief being true and accurate. All right, that's your little mental pep talk for today. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.